Before we get started tonight, we're going to ask Michael Recker to give the invocation. Following the invocation, I'll give you some instructions as to how we're going to go through the wine and how the food is going to be served this evening. Michael?
Right there. Will everyone please bow their heads? First of all, I'd like to thank the Lord for giving us the ability to have a successful season, for giving us great parents who organized the pasta dinners, for putting up with us on card nights and all the other little things that made us successful this year. I'd like to thank the Lord for keeping us healthy this season, for the great trainers who cared for us, for the coaches who did a great job of preparing us, for the cheerleaders who supported us in every way possible, and most of all, I'd like to thank the Lord for giving us a chance to play tomorrow in pursuit of the state championship. Amen.
Thing on. Hey, Dave, this thing going. Can you hear? My name is Keith Bailey, and I'd like to welcome all of you to this 1995 Ames High School football banquet. It looks like we have a pretty comprehensive program. I think that means long. So I'll try to be as brief as I can. But I think it would be a good idea for most of you folks to get as comfortable as you can right now, and maybe save a little time later and not have to sit there and shuffle yourselves back and forth in your chairs and try to figure out when this is all going to end. It's a distinct pleasure for me to be here this evening. Several days ago, Coach Dado called me and asked me if I would be willing to MC this operation, and before I really gave it any thought, I told him yes. And I was trying to figure out just what we're doing here, reaching back in the past that far. But it's good to be here for a lot of reasons, and I've given some thought to this as I was in preparation. And to give you a little bit of an idea, there are several dads here whom I coached at Ames High School a few years back. We have a alumnus that's going to be honored this evening, and I had the pleasure of coaching his three sons at Ames High School. There's several of you athletes that are out there now. I can remember when you were born, and that's probably better than you can do. So it's good to be here. Before we do anything else, I think it'd be nice to give a nice round of applause to Valentino's for this fine meal that they've served us this evening. One other thing I'd like to do before anything else is done or said is I'd like to congratulate the team on the success they've had this year. It's truly been an outstanding season. It's not over, but it's been a good season. And whether the outcome of tomorrow night's game is on the positive side or the negative side. Now, this is me talking. Why, I think you've had a great season. And always remember the good times you've had, and you'll remember those for a long time. And you'll remember, one of the things you'll find out as time goes by, why you get a lot better, and the things that hurt a lot now slip further and further and further into the background, and you never deal with them again. I'd like to make some introductions tonight of some. When you have an operation like this going on and you have a football team and an athletic squad, why, there's a lot of people that play a large part in it. And a number of those people are behind the scenes. You don't see them very often. They're not out in front, but they are important as far as the total picture is concerned. And representing the Central Office Administration tonight is Dr. Ralph Farrar and his wife, Jo. Dr. Farrar, would you stand? Representing Ames High School Administration is Chuck Octor, the principal, and Dave Posgate, the athletic director. Would you gentlemen stand and be recognized? I guess maybe Chuck is gone. I guess he was here a little earlier. Dave said to be sure and point out to you he would have been here earlier to eat, but he had 3 banquets to attend tonight, and I think he probably did okay at the other 2. So, sports reps for the sport of football, representing the seniors, Terry and Susan Doyle, and representing the juniors, Tom and Carol Payne. Would they please stand and be recognized? In athletics, in this day and age, why, you always have to have a tail of the tape. You can't do anything without a lot of statistics, and that's primarily for the press and for the fans and everyone to see what's going on and make comparisons and everything else. And Ames High School has a nice and efficient statistician and a loyal follower and cheerleader and everything else in Ed Schwieger. Ed? Also, a pretty important aspect of athletics in today's world is to be able to teach and correct through film or nowadays through videotape. And over here to my right is my neighbor and the guru of the tape at Ames High School, Emmett Stevemer, and his wife, Mary. Representing the media tonight is Dar Danielson of KSI. Dar, would you stand up, please? Thank you. And finally, the people that really represent the student body and do a great deal to keep some excitement going, both as far as the team is concerned and the student body is concerned, is the cheerleaders. Will the cheerleaders stand and be recognized? Somebody asked me a little earlier if I had a lot of good jokes and stories to tell, and I told them I really didn't. And the reason for that is that I learned a long time ago, master of ceremonies are appreciated a great deal more if they don't say very much. So I've said about as much as I'm going to say tonight, other than to make some introductions. The first person I want to introduce is Everett Ritland. And while Everett's walking up here, why, I just say just a couple of things about him. Everett is a former administrator at Ames High School. He's been in the community for a lot of years, and I'm not going to try to guess how many or even tell you, even though I think I know. But he's seen a lot of athletes go through the halls of Ames High School and participate, and he probably remembers the names of most of them. And he's going to introduce a special alumnus tonight. Everett Ritland.
want to congratulate and speak highly about everybody that Michael Recker mentioned. That's to save time because it's a long evening and I'm not going to take a lot of your time. We've been, I say the coach has been doing this for a number of years, honoring one former player each year. Just think of it, this time we went back 44 years because in 1951 the team had been preparing for 3 weeks to get ready for the season, and on the Monday of the first game the quarterback, Don Weber, breaks his shoulder. They've got 3 days to get ready for the first game, which was Mason City. And he wondered, who can I get to take Don's place? Don was a scholar and a very intelligent young man, but rather fragile. And so he broke his arm. Well, he looked around and he found Red Milliken, who was scheduled to be the left end. And he got him. He had 3 days to learn the playbook, to learn the players. And the thing I remember about him is that he came through. And I marveled at the fact that he could get going as quickly as zip. But I didn't know enough about him because it's 44 years ago. So I called him, and he lives in Hackensack, Minnesota, but he has offices in Mason City and Grinnell, I think. But he's a corporate, he and his wife are corporate consultants. But in spite of a busy life, he came down to see me to give me the scoop. And I tried for 2 hours to get him to say something that he had done well. All he could do was to mention guys like Dick Fowler, Jim Allen, Dick Stuber, Jack Kruger, and Spangler, whose first team he didn't give him. He talked about these men and their talents, and any time I wanted to get him to say something about himself, the only thing that came out, his wife said, you know, he was a pretty good passer. And it went at that. So I had to think up what to say about this fine athlete who was not only a football player, but basketball, track, you name it. He played summer baseball with the Junior Legion because we didn't sponsor a team in those days. Anyway, finally I decided after 2 hours that what he really must have done was he studied the players. He was in frequent consultation with a coach, and he figured out what these kids could do and when to do it. And so he became essentially a brain of the entire squad. And he did it so well, though they were unrated at the beginning of the year, during the season, they played 3 teams that were rated number 1 at the time they played. And he wound up 8-0, number 1 team in the state, and he was a huge part of it. I'm delighted to introduce Red Milliken, who used his brains to make a very successful team. Rated number 1 in the state. Red.
Do I still have to call you Mr. Ritland after that, or what? When I got the letter, can you hear out there? I can't tell from the coach. I thought somebody's out of their gourd.
And it came to the Mason City office, and when they brought it into me, my second thought was Cole, our youngest son. And a lot of you out here probably knew the older brothers. Maybe you knew Cole. He's constantly doing something like this to remember the family. I just lost my in the office. And quite a few days went by, and Arna said, well, let's check it out. So I had a number to call, and it said ask for Everett, so I did. And I asked for Everett. The man came on the phone. Now, this is a true story. Look at Arna over there. It's a little verified. The guy comes on the phone, and he says, I'm sorry Everett's having dinner tonight with the King of Norway. That's fine. So now I know this is Cole. This is him all over. And that actually happened. Everett was having dinner with the King of Norway and Victoria. The letter came from Coach Dado, and we're here tonight. We really are privileged to be here. I was supposed to take you in a minute and a half down. Just give you a little idea of the players and coaches. A lot wasn't different, somewhat. First guy came into contact with us was Kenny Wells, old-timer from the US. When I came in to play for the team, his record was 66 wins, 9 losses, and 4 ties. So you figure that out, about every third year Ames is going undefeated. So I did nothing spectacular. In fact, I'll tell you a little more about the players here. Fowler held, one of the running backs he was talking about, held the national low hurdle record. His backup was state sprint champion Jim Allen. The other running back was Jim Gallen, another sprint champion. His backup was Dick Stuber, who went on and played at Missouri. There were 4 backs between the seniors and juniors that went on and played major college football. So my job was to live with the coaches. I had 3 days, so I literally lived with them all day, night, everything. And was hand the ball off and get out of the way. And your quarterback here, where's number 10? I know he does the same thing. So. We just think we're important quarterbacks. We're really not. They want me to tell you in a conversation here what it was like money-wise. When I played, there was only 3 sports, basketball, football, track. There were no girls' sports, so all the money went to those 3 sports. When we went out of town, we went from 3 to 5 Greyhound buses. One for the team, one for the pep squad, and they were elected in that day. And the cheerleaders would be in that bus. The band went, which they went most of the time. They were in a bus. And then there was 2 for the students, and then the parents drove. After the game, away from home, there would be a cafe halfway. It would stay open just to serve us, and we all full-course steak dinners every time. Money was no object. We went to Sioux City and played. By the way, my name is Dustin. What's his last name? Quarterback. You guys ought to be thinking about that turkey. Was it Justin Cruz, the quarterback, Sioux City East? Yeah. You linemen should tattoo him tomorrow. You know what Dan Devine said? Nobody comes into my town and messes with us. So it's a good time to start thinking about that. To date myself a little bit and tell you what 44 years are, Ernie McFarland was our team doctor, one of them. And Pete, you'd appreciate that. He had an office down on 6th Avenue, just founding McFarland Clinic. So a lot has happened since then. We used 4 offenses. We used anything Oklahoma used. Oklahoma was #1 in the nation. Split T, wing T, the I formation, and the pro set. We didn't call them that. They were named after players on the team who were specialists in things, but that's what it was. We played the same teams you play pretty much, West Waterloo, Fort Dodge, Mason City, Marshtown, Newton. And believe it or not, when I went to school, Boone was a larger town than Ames. They were the power in the state, and we always finished the year with Boone. And many years, before my time, probably when you were coaching, Boone-Ames game had to be played at Clyde Williams Iowa State Field because it was too big a crowd, right? So that's kind of the difference. There was nothing, everybody went to watch football. There were 12,000 people in town. On a Friday night, we would have between 4,000 and 5,000. East of DOT down there where the mall is, that was the football field. Lincoln Way was Highway 30, two-lane, and the crowds there just tied up that highway, and that was the only way to get to college back then, so you can imagine the mess. I have two memories, and I'll get out of here. They both happened in the Boone game, the last game of the season. We were tied first place with Loris, and it was Wallace. And Boone was number 3, so we knew if we could win that one, we would be number 1. We went into halftime pretty beat up, it was 0-0. And I'll never forget that. The crowd was around the field, up behind the goal post. They were 10 and 12 deep, the stands were full. They have estimated 4,500 to 5,000 people. We had to go through that crowd down a hill to get to our locker room at half. We go in the locker room, and our coach, Wells, had evidently anticipated this, because here was Everett and all the administration, and we didn't even unbutton our helmets, let me tell you. It was that tense in that locker room. Nobody said much, but you could just feel it, like you guys are feeling it tonight, I'm sure. When we went back on the field, it was very quiet, and we had to walk through the crowd again. We're about a minute into the third quarter, and I specifically remember this. We used the oblong huddle with the ends at both ends, the line facing away from the ball, the backs, and everybody down, the straight back and helmet. We could only use one color uniform, that was the black jersey, the black helmet, and the silver pants. That was Ames then. Every game, year in, year out. We're in this huddle, everybody's tense, and a guy rips one off. I'm telling you, he pardon me, mothers, but he did. And I remember one of the backs started giggling because everybody was real upset. And it spread around the huddle, and I'm down on one knee in the middle trying to call a play, and I started laughing. And the fullback he called timeout. And we all turned our back to the sideline. If he'd been coaching, it'd be the same way. And I had to go to the sideline, and it was the longest trip I ever made in my life. Quarterbacks, you know what that's like. The coach is down there like this, and High Covey would look like he could eat raw liver. He had the line down the way. And I don't remember the exact words, but the coach since then has become a good friend of mine, and I see him once or twice a year. And it went something like, Coach, we had a misunderstanding, we got it taken care of. I remember he never even looked me in the eye. He said, well, go take care of it. At the end of that quarter, it just shows you anything can happen. It was 26-0 our favor. We just blew them out after that. That's what you're supposed to do. Our coach, Kenny Wells, was named Coach of the Year that year, and he should be. And there's a sidelight to that. The little green jug, the original one, disappeared that night forever. You now use a substitute. That was the one they traded between Boone and Ames in those days. And Martin and I are very happy to be here. And before I sit down, so many of you know our children. In fact, some of them are your age, which I'll relate here with Everett. When Everett was your parents' age, I was sitting here as a ball player. It's just about the same difference. So, you're an old man, Everett. And you know what that makes for art. Rob and I are good friends too. Scott is in Alaska. 3 of our kids are. He works at Alaska Power, coaches hockey. They got second in state last year. Melody's in Alaska. She leads a life like you see in the magazines. Her husband's the head attorney that handled the Exxon Valdez oil spill for Exxon. He'll be in court another 10 years. Melody's second in command of her company. It's a computer analyst company. They have an ocean-going yacht, sailing yacht, and they go out for weeks at a time when they have time. Joe's in Alaska at the same time as Scott. He works for Usability Mines. He's the blaster fits. And he also had a travel agency, which he and his wife had just sold. She's going back to law school. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He's down in Iowa hunting pheasants someplace. Cole, the sleeper, who was your coach's first year, is a computer engineer, lives in Tucson, has his own company. It's called Tyler Consulting Group. That's his middle name, Tyler. And he works through internet for 3M and some other companies. So our kids have remembered you a lot. We've heard them mention you, and I just thought I'd pass that along to you. Thanks for inviting us. We're unworthy, but thank you.
Congratulations to Red and to Marna. And no program would be complete without the MC making a minor glitch. And I passed over a couple of people that should have been recognized, and I'd like to make up for that right now and say I'm sorry, but I'd like to introduce Dr. Milliman and his wife, and Dr. Peter Buck and his wife, the physicians that keep these people together. At this time, I'd like to introduce the young man that's going to be the spokesman for the junior class, John Crawford.
Now, before I start, I have to admit that when I got in here tonight, I became pretty nervous when I took a look at Dustin Avey's speech, because the length of that and the length of mine, a little different. But you know, then I thought to myself, I don't have to give a Division I speech. I can just keep mine nice and short. For you, buddy. So, when this past summer began, I knew right away that our team had good unity. The seniors encouraged everyone to be involved in the summer workouts, to lift weights, and to condition. But when the two-a-day practices began, I wondered how well the chemistry would hold up. With juniors fighting seniors for positions and playing time, I didn't quite know how well we would fit in. But from the very first day, the seniors have welcomed us to the team. They have treated us with nothing but equals, and they have been very supportive. Not only have the seniors been supported and have accepted us, but they have provided great leadership. By never quitting and always playing hard, they have been great examples to us. And I hope that we as juniors can take that leadership and carry it on to next year. We will be sorry to see the seniors leave, but at the same time, I think we as juniors should be excited for next season. We have had the opportunity to see many juniors get their feet wet this year, and so things look good for next season. I'd like to thank the seniors, the training staff, the coaches for all their hard work, the cheerleaders for all their support, and most importantly, the parents and the fans for attending all the games. I'm proud to be a member of this football team, and I'd like to remind all you guys that our season isn't over yet, and we have way too much heart to let it end tomorrow night. Thank you.
Well said, John. Now I'd like to introduce the senior captains. They're going to be saying a few things to you, and I don't know exactly what order they're going to be appearing in, but the captains are Dustin Avey, Sevond Cole, Chad Curtis, and Chad Spencer. Men?
All right, a little word of warning before we started. We've been really busy this weekend, so all the captains, including myself, we put the speech together about 5 o'clock this evening. First of all, I'd like to start by thanking some people. that have contributed to the team so far this year. First of all, our team physicians, Dr. Buck, Dr. Greenwald, Dr. Milliman. I know they've devoted most of their Friday nights to being on the sidelines with the team. Would you guys please stand so we can acknowledge you? Next, we'd like to acknowledge the trainers, most of which are made up of Ames volunteer trainers and ISU trainers who are majoring in athletic training. Would the trainers please stand when I read off your names? The head trainers Kent Kaufman, Neil Naratam, Michelle Olive, Chad Shellmeyer, Shannon Loft, Kelly Baker, Rachel Wesley, Lori Bates, Jeff Schultz, Luke Elbert, and Amanda Sally. We give them a hand. These trainers put in endless hours, starting with 2 days in August. I know they're always there every practice. They always have water on the field, and most of all, they put up our moaning and groaning. Finally, and most importantly, I'd like to thank the offensive coaches. You know, when last season ended, all the coaches get together and they devised a season plan for this year to fit the personnel that we have. I must admit, they've got to love what they do, because I have a hunch they don't get paid very well, the way they sound. I'll read the offensive coaches and the positions. Coach Dado works with the running backs. Coach Pelzer works with the offensive line. Coach Johnson works with the quarterbacks and receivers. And Coach Kruzman works with the receivers. Will the coaches please stand? Be acknowledged. Thanks again to all those people for their commitment and dedication to Ames High football.
First of all, I'd like to thank the band. I don't think anybody's here to take it, but I'd like to say thank you. It was great coming out at halftime and seeing the band playing our song. It was great. Next, could I have Coach Vertinen, Coach Downs, and Coach Burrows please stand? Those three coaches are responsible for preparing the defense for our past, present, and future games. This season, these coaches have done an outstanding job. We have walked into every game as prepared as possible. I speak on behalf of the team when I say that this combination of defensive coaches is the best in the state. So we'd like to give a round of applause for those three coaches, please.
Okay, I'd like to give many thanks to the parents for their support and dedication to the season to help us become what we are, putting up with us after we come home from practice, grouchy, tired, and hungry. It was nice to come to a spaghetti dinners, and hosting the card nights were pretty good. Thanks for the money. I'd like to give thanks to the bus drivers, especially Skip. I don't know if Skip is a last name, but he's a good bus driver. He's got his problems finding his way to Newton. He's done it twice now. It was baseball this summer and football this time. I have one more thanks, and that's to the Des Moines Register. We're in the Elite Eight, but I think we're still ranked 12th or 13th.
They'd get the crowd fired up throughout the season, and they did a real good job. They competed in the state tournament yesterday, which we weren't able to attend because we had practice. But they got second. I heard they got screwed out of that because someone made a bad call out of that. But I'm sure they deserve first because they've always done a good job in the past. When I just read your name, you can come up and get your flower. Jill Baker, Dana Doran, Lauren Miller, Alyssa Speck, Michelle Foster, Melissa Goring, Megan Steggy, Cassie Clyde, Heather Harold, Renessa Osterberg, Mark Skolton, John Coy, Meredith Horton, Carissa Ripley, Jill Watson, and Mark Nutter. And Mark, especially, when he'd do those little backflips, we'd hear the crowd going wild, and I'm sure it's when he would do those backflips, because they'd always be yelling for him to do those. Thanks a lot.
One of the things coaches most worried about coming into the season is how well the junior and senior classes are going to mix. A team could have the best players in the league in the conference, but if the juniors and seniors don't get along, there's a serious problem. I think our team has had great team unity this year. We came into the season knowing that we were going to be oversized and overpowered in the majority of our games. One of the reasons we overcame this was because we worked as offensive and defensive units rather than individuals. Every week in our defensive scouting reports, we have a goal that says play assignment football. And this can also be referred to in offense as well. It means that everybody has a job on the team, and when this job is done, we can be successful. Moving on, I'm sure that there's many people out there, including myself, who'd like to thank the referees this year for calling for doing such a great job of calling penalties against us. Speaking personally, there's no better feeling than after scoring a touchdown to turn around and see that yellow flag laying down. Chad Spencer, Matt Loney. We had invited them to the banquet, but as you can see, they're not here. I'm not sure if Coach Dado had anything to do with that or not. Since we have a big game tomorrow night, I have a poem that I'd like to read. It's titled Believe. I believe in taking chances. I believe we are putting it on the line. I believe that we are strong. I believe that we have accepted the challenge. You believe in reaching for more. You believe in all your dreams. You believe the unexpected can happen. You believe we are not what we seem. We believe we are one team. We believe in our one goal. We believe we have confidence. And most of all, we believe that only if we do our best will there be a chance for all we've ever dreamed. Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to talk about how the team got ready for the first game. Throughout the summer, there's lifting, which many of the juniors attended, and I didn't know if how the class was going to be, but having all those juniors come made it look like they were serious. And during 2 days, everyone was in shape. Most people, in the running, everyone was doing it good, except, well, I had trouble. After one, I threw up and fainted after one practice. But other than that, everyone was fine. And there's uncertainty still, though, to how the team was going to start out the season, especially the defense, because we were putting in a new defense, and we had a lot of people at positions that hadn't played there before, and a lot of new players that hadn't started positions, because last year they hadn't played. Then we looked in paper the Sunday before our first game, and we saw that we were going up against the preseason number 4 team, Dowling, and I'm sure that intimidated a few people. But then about Wednesday that week, I think it was, Coach Dado came in and he said, what to say on the back of those shirts you guys have. The will to win starts with the will to prepare, and I think that was about our best practice all season. We came out all fired up. And I remember that being distinctly probably one of the key practices all year. And then that Friday night, we started off the kickoff, and on the kickoff, I remember there's a flag, and instead of it being a penalty on us, I think it was a penalty on Dowling. And that showed that, I don't know, to me that was kind of key, because it proved that we were ready and they weren't. And then after that first punt snapped over our head, that game was ours, and the season was started off good from then on. Thanks.
As you all know, this team has had its shares of ups and downs this season. The day after the Mason City loss, Coach Dado came into the locker room and said, "Guys, good teams can bounce back after a heartbreaker, and other teams just stay down." If I had to think of a personal highlight this year, it wouldn't be as specific as a 4th down stop on the goal line. It would be after losing to Mason City, we bounced back, and we came up winning against Urbandale. My bad. I'm a little nervous up here. That showed to me, more than anything else this season, that every person on this football team has the heart of a champion. Those of you who are in other sports, you football players, those of you who are in other sports, I hope that your team has enough heart and determination to win as this football team does. Because I know if they do, you'll be very successful. Tomorrow we have a game against a good Sioux City East team. Let's go out there and prove to everyone that we have the determination and the heart to be a champion. Thanks.
This past summer when we were hunting around for slogans to put on the back of the t-shirts, there's one that I distinctly remember. I don't know if the coaches would have gone for it, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. It was, we'll fight till hell freezes over, and then we'll fight them on the ice. We decided to go against that one, and got to the will to win starts from the will to prepare. It's been referred to a lot this year, and hopefully the next 2 weeks we can refer to it a lot more. Throughout the season, I've thought of a few mini slogans that I'd like to share with you. After the Dowling game, my slogan, we were better than you think. After the East and Ankeny games, keep the wins coming. 3-0 is pretty fun. After the Newton loss, please don't show us the films on Monday. After the Mason City homecoming, Mom, I'm too embarrassed to go to school. Before, during, and after the Urbandale game, God, I hate Eric Turner. Before the overtime in Marshalltown, darn refs. After Marshalltown, thank God. Before the Ankeny playoff game until now, please don't let this great season end. Maybe the slogan we should carry with us now and forever is a quote by Dr. Rob Gilbert. The best team doesn't win nearly as often as the team that gets along the best. Let's win tomorrow night. Thank you. We'd like to have the junior players please come forward. Or sophomores, I guess. And both.
All right, I guess we got something here. It's a Nestle's Crunch Bar, and it says, crunch time, let's do it in 95, and that's all tomorrow.
Thank you, senior captains. For those of you that may not have been aware of it, there's a lot that goes into the making of a season. The good times, the bad times, I guess the good, the bad, and the ugly. And now I'd like to introduce a man that probably needs no introduction to this group. Highly successful coach at Ames High School, Kirk Data.
Since Dustin mentioned the officials, I just got word Friday night that the same crew that worked our Valley game will be here tomorrow night, so get ready. Before I hand out any awards, I'd like to just make a couple of announcements here and a couple more introductions. Mary Buck, who's in the science department, I know all the players know her, does just such a super job with the scrapbook. And I asked her the other day in the hall if she kept all the articles and everything, and she laminates them, and I mean, it's just a super little scrapbook that she puts together. And I am positive if several of our players had asked her that she'd put one together and charge about $4 a piece. So somebody, anybody, when you see Mrs. Buck, those are really very nice mementos to have from our season. I want to just mention our coaching staff here. No one in the state of Iowa is blessed with a better coaching staff than I have. And, you know, it starts down in the middle school with some very dedicated people and introduce our players to the game of football and see to it that they have a lot of fun playing and learn proper techniques and stay healthy and all of that. But when they get to Ames High School, I have a three-person staff at the freshman level, coaches Versteeg and Jones and Bremer. This year we robbed them of their three best players, and against some really tough competition, they still managed to have a winning season, and they did a great job with them putting together a very good team. Our sophomore coaches just keep rolling along, and you know, as long as I've been here, they've had great winning seasons, and coaches Dewey and Tramp lead that staff of about 5 or 6 volunteer coaches who get out there and just do a super job with them. Once again, this year they were 6-3 and finished 3rd in the conference and did a terrific job. I have a great varsity staff. You know, this group of guys that I've worked with is the best that I've ever had, and get along well, and they're very dedicated. I don't think we had a single coach that missed a meeting, and they've already been introduced, so I'm not going to introduce them again. But there's a reason why I'm able to pace up and down the sidelines and wear holes in the carpet there and during the games, and that's because I know that things are being very well taken care of on both sides of the ball, and I really have very little to do. So I want to pay tribute to a really great coaching staff. I want to introduce some other people that are very important here, and I want to have them stand, and that's the wives of our coaches. I want you to to take a look at them. If they'll just stand and remain standing, they just love this. So this is one of their favorite things. But Joanne Dado, Kathy Pelzer, Joelle Vertinen, Robin Burrow, and Patty Johnston, if they will just stand there. It's a tough life for a coach's wife, you know, all of the disruptions that they have in their lives during the fall and all of the time that we're away from the house and everything, and then they get to sit up in the stands and hear the really interesting comments that people make about their husbands, and it's a tough life. But I really appreciate the wives of our coaches who do a great job for us. Okay, now I want to, if I could have Coach Pelzer and Coach Vertinen come up here and give me a hand. I want to hand out our awards here. Give just a minute here to get halfway for them to get organized and figure out where everything is. I think I left some fairly decent instructions here. I'm going to start off here and just recognize the sophomores that we brought up for the playoffs. Every time, this is the 6th year we've been in the playoffs, we've always brought up a few sophomores. Usually it's 5 or 6 that we think are very deserving, and this year we brought 11. And these are people that help us out a lot as we go through our playoff preparation. And I'll just introduce them one at a time, and if you guys will come up, we have a real nice playoff certificate for each one of them. Micah Martinez, Kurt Van Maren, Lucas Deerdorf, Adam Wagner, Jeff Roski, David Tays, Chris Gardner, Adam Biskner, James Grant, Nick Salisbury, and David Knapp. And those are our sophomores. It's the future of Ames High football, and did you see the size of some of those guys here? Okay, next, I want to hand out some participation awards for our juniors. We have very strict rules about lettering and not lettering. Unlike a lot of schools, we have specific requirements, and each year we have a number of juniors who are with us all year and make very great contributions to our team but don't have sufficient playing time to letter. And I would like for those people to come up here and get their participation award. Kenny Tasco, David Janes, Brent and Tisdale, Chris Marty, Eric Oji, Aaron Schropp, Bobby Ross, Chris Tuttle, and Mike Kadoff. Okay, that's half of our junior class there. Every year we get starters out of that group, and next year will be no a change from that, because we'll find some starters for our team next year from that group of juniors. Ready? Okay. Okay, now I'd introduce our junior letter winners. Jake Hansen, wide receiver. Scott Stevermer, quarterback. A.J. Wilson, running back. D.J. Bergduff, defensive back. Clint Bells, free safety. Tyler Frazier, defensive back. Robbie Heiberger, linebacker. Dan Johnson, wide receiver. Mark Charter, wide receiver. Zach Rhodes, offensive tackle. John Crawford, linebacker. Ben Brown, kicker. Dan Janello, offensive tackle. Brad Payne, center. Drew Hamilton, defensive tackle. Jace Woodley, offensive tackle. Jake Bills, defensive tackle. Jason McNertney, offensive guard. Joe Simmons, tight end. Andrew Hoiberg, defensive tackle. Dustin Wetzel, defensive end. Matt Shimkus, tight end. And James Burrow, tight end and linebacker. That's our entire junior class, and with the sophomores, the heart of next year's team. Our senior letter winners: Corey Myers. Corey was a defensive back. Matt Loney. Matt was a two-way player for us at running back and then at cornerback, also played strong safety for us. Chad Curtis. Chad's a two-year letterman, starter at cornerback. Ben Fowles. Ben was a fullback this year. Ryan Tesdahl. Ryan was a defensive back for us. Torrey Fonfang. Torrey's a two-year letter winner, starter, running back. Mike Raker, two-year letterman, mostly a linebacker, also filled in a lot of times on offense. At fullback. Nathan Terry, two-year letter winner, starter at fullback. Nathan McKern, two-year letter winner, starter at offensive tackle. Billy McDuffie. Bill's has been with us for 2 years, the defensive tackle. Cale Doyle, two-year starter at offensive guard. Andre Fagundes. Andre is an offensive guard. Chris Melvin. Chris, a two-year letter winner, a starter for it, an offensive guard. Andy Hatfield. Andy's a 2-year letter winner and starter for us at center. Joel Lingelbach. Joel has been with us for 2 years. He's a defensive tackle. Tony Striegel. Tony's a 2-year letter winner, a starter for us at nose guard. Dustin Avey. Dustin's a 2-year starter for us at wide receiver and at free safety. Chad Spencer. Chad's a 2-year starter for us at defensive end. Sevond Cole. Sevond's a 2-year letter winner and a starter at defensive end. That's our terrific senior class. Okay, I want to get into our players of the week. For each victory, the coaching staff selects one member of the offensive team, one member of the defensive team as the most valuable player for that game. And we've got, happily, a lot of those to hand out tonight. So let's start off with the Dowling game. Our offensive player was Scott Stevermer, and our defensive player was Matt Loney. For the East game, way back when and on an afternoon, our offensive player was Dustin Avey. Our defensive player was Andrew Hoiberg. One of our really key victories, our first Ankeny game, our offensive player was Torrey Fong Fang, and our defensive player was Chad Spencer. Thinking back here about victories that meant a lot to us after our 2-game losing streak there and our problems at homecoming, the Urbandale game was such a key for us to get back on track and everything. Our offensive player against Urbandale was Nathan Terry. Our defensive player was James Burrow. For the Valley win, our offensive player was Nathan McKern. Our defensive player was Mike Raker. The Marshalltown Heartstopper there, our offensive player was Cale Doyle. Our defensive player was Drew Hamilton. For the Fort Dodge Mud game, we took 2 votes on offense and came up ties both times, and so we said, heck with it, we'll give them both. Our offensive players sharing the award, James Burrow and Chris Melvin. Our defensive player was Sevond Cole. And for our Ankeny playoff victory, our offensive player was Matt Loney. Our defensive player was Dustin Avey. all conference teams have already been announced, and there will be another one announced. I always like to distinguish between the two of them. One of them is voted by the coaches who have seen every player in the conference on film a couple of times and in person once, and the other is voted on a couple of people who sit in an office and occasionally get out and see a ball game. So the coaches team is the one that you want to be on. You know, I've never come out of that meeting and felt like we were treated the way we should be, and this year is no exception. We had a lot of good players this year, and I nominated a lot of players for all conference, and like I say, we didn't get as many as we certainly deserved. I want to start off with our honorable mention people. We had 2 juniors to make honorable mention all-conference team, Drew Hamilton and Scott Stevermer. They'll come forward and get their certificates. I don't know, the guy that was the second team all-conference quarterback and our honorable mention choice there were on the same field Wednesday night. Who would you have voted for? I thought maybe that was a poor choice, but then that's the way it goes. We had 5 seniors who made the all-conference honorable mention list, and any one of these could have been first or second team for sure. Defensive end, Sevond Cole. Running back, Matt Loney. Fullback, Nathan Terry. Running back, Torrey Fong Fang. And center, Andy Hatfield. They'll come up and get their certificates. We had 1 junior on the second all-conference team and deserved a spot on the first for sure and didn't quite make it. It was a very close vote, but 1 junior on the second team all-conference is wide receiver Mark Charter. We had 4 seniors on the second team. Each one of them, in my opinion, should have been on the first team. At defensive back, Mike Raker. An offensive guard, Cale Doyle. Nose guard, Tony Striegel. And defensive end, Chad Spencer. We had 3 people who made the all-conference first team. 8 victories and 3 people on the first team. Didn't quite add up to me, but that's the way it goes, like I say. 2 of the people on the first team are juniors, will be back next year. Defensive tackle Andrew Hoiberg and linebacker Jamie Burrow. And we had 1 senior, and my choice for the CIML Player of the Year, Dustin Avey. At the end of the season, the team votes on awards for different aspects of our team, and I always think these are very valuable to have and nice little things to keep in mind. When your teammates vote and you come out on top, I think that's a great tribute to us. Let's start off here. The voting here was very close, and I think that reflects the type of team we had this year. Start off here with our most valuable offensive lineman. The vote of the squad, that goes to Cale Doyle. Our most valuable offensive back, that went to Nathan Terry. Our most valuable defensive lineman, that went to Andrew Hoiberg. Our most valuable defensive back or linebacker went to James Burrow. There are a couple of very special awards, I think, to the team and to the coaching staff. We give most valuable non-starter. I mean, a guy who doesn't start all the time, but who does a lot in practice to push people and to keep things going. And you know, we had a whole bunch of people mentioned here, and I think that's great. And we had about 14 or 15 players mentioned as most valuable non-starters. I can't remember another time when that was true, but the person that the squad voted as our most valuable non-starter is Tyler Frazier. We give an award called the Most Courageous Cyclone. And, you know, that goes to a person that displays the most courage on our team. And like I tell the squad, you know, courage is displayed in a lot of different ways. And there's all kinds of, all varieties of courage. And I couldn't agree with this award more. But an overwhelming vote, too. Our most courageous Cyclone for 1995 is Billy McDuffie. Last award that I'll announce here is our most valuable player for the year, and this is probably not a whole lot of tension out there. My choice for the Iowa High School Football Player of the Year here, our most valuable player is Dustin Avey. I think we're all looking forward to seeing Dustin in a big Cyclone uniform and doing well in the coming years and in a great program. I want to close here with just a brief story here. About 3 weeks ago, I went down and I talked with our 8th grade football players. I do that every year toward the end of their season and talk to them about how things have gone and this year, you know, there was some discouraged players down there. Coach Logsdon was telling me, he always invites me down, and the smaller squad finished 3-1-1 for their season, and the bigger guys were 1-4, and it took some real tough losses, and I went down there. I knew exactly what I was going to say after I got through all of the coaches' talk and everything, because you know, I could cite an example of a couple of other classes that didn't exactly start their football careers as world beaters. And I don't know if you remember back this far or not, but our seniors as freshmen won 1 football game. And our juniors as freshmen won no football games. I'll tell you something, you know, Hayden Fry once told some coaches, he said he got the worst advice that he'd ever been given, a football coach had ever been given. He said one of his best friends advised him not to take the Iowa job. You know, so I tell you, I can match that, because when this year's seniors were freshmen and our juniors were 8th graders, a person in the community, unnamed here, in a position to know, said, "Coach, when those 2 classes are seniors and juniors, that's the year you're going to want to take your sabbatical." And I tell you, I remember that. I'm getting older now, and the time, that doesn't seem like so very long ago. But I mean, that was very, very bad advice, because I wouldn't have missed this season for the world. This has been a tremendously rewarding season for me, for the coaches, to watch the development of these two classes as they've gone through their years at Ames High School. And I tell you, I give a lot of the credit to the coaches down the line. Coach Downs was the head freshman coach for both of those classes, and I tell you, he just displayed a world of patience with them. And I tell you, he had the foresight to let a lot of them play. Instead of putting out there guys going both ways, to let a lot of them play and have fun and think that they're good football players. That was a great decision. Not worry so much about winning, but give them a chance to play and have fun. And Coach Dewey and Tramp, you know, took both of those classes and made winners out of them, taught them what it takes to win. And then, you know, they could come up to the junior and senior years and think of themselves as winners and have the kind of season that we've had. You know, I've had, like I say, I've had a tremendous amount of satisfaction this year, and who knows what's ahead.
At this time, I'd like to invite the mothers of the senior captains to come forward. That'd be Jan Avey, Pam Curtis, Barb Cole, and Sharon Spencer.
We have some housekeeping duties that we want to take care of before I get into my speech. We have a Tupperware bowl that was left at Loney's house, and we want to know whose it is. So if anybody knows who this, okay, all right. And then we wanted to remind you to be sure to take your helmets that have your pictures on them before you go. There are some extra placemats that have your pictures on them that are in the back also. And let me see.
Why the freshmen don't have their picture?
Oh, okay. And the sophomores don't have their pictures on them because we just didn't have time to get those taken, and we apologize about that, but we do have helmets with your names on them. Okay? Oh, well, we have... Is this yours? A coat that was left at Payne's house. That's parents. If you went to Payne's house and someone left a coat, we have all sorts of things we're taking care of. Is there anybody else out there that has anything that was left at their house that they'd like to announce?
You might tell them there's cake and ice cream left because a lot of them didn't get
Okay. Sharon Spencer says there's cake and ice cream left. If any of you did not get that, please feel free to do that when we're done. I'm going to read a speech that was written by Bud Legg, and it was read on senior night, and that was the night that our speakers were taken. And I know when we were down on the field, we were not able to hear this speech, and so we thought it would be a good thing to read again to you tonight. We, as parents, when we sat down and read this, felt that it really talked about how we feel about the team and how we feel about our sons and the juniors also. This is the time we recognize our senior players. This group of seniors forms the cornerstone of the football program, and they have made outstanding contributions to the school on and off the field. Their sacrifice, time, and energy and personal gain for team success makes them particularly unique and has helped them make Ames High very competitive in the Central Iowa Metropolitan League. Many of them not only have dedicated themselves to the football program, but have contributed significantly to the success of basketball, wrestling, track, and baseball. They have also been involved in student government, student publications, and vocal and instrumental music programs at AHS. Included in the group are all conference and all state athletes. But moreover, each is a contributing member to the success and unity for which this year's team is known. We take this moment to thank them for some of the great memories and to wish them the very best in their remaining games, and I say games, this fall. We also deserve to recognize their parents for the generous and enthusiastic support they have given their sons, the coaches, and the entire Ames High football program. And I want to add to that, without as we sit here tonight without the juniors, and I think that unity together with the juniors and the seniors has meant a lot to me as a parent, and I think the other parents of the seniors too. As we watch you on the field, we really feel that we see a team out there, people working together, and it's really great. We'd like the seniors to come up to get their T-shirts. All the seniors, come on up. What do I have? Extra large?
Everybody likes it. Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty, thanks.
More down here. Oh, okay. I'll read the shirt to you. I don't have my glasses on up here. Ames High, class of 96 football. Little Cyclone, sorry.
Is there a couple left?
Yes. We got all the seniors? All the seniors came up? Okay, thank you.
Thank you to the senior mothers. This time, I'd like to have Nathan Terry come forward. Nathan will be giving the benediction. While he's coming forward, just a couple of quick comments. First of all, it's been a wonderful evening. We've had a lot of fun. Had an opportunity to reminisce a lot. Be sure that as you leave this place, you drive carefully and get home safely so that tomorrow can indeed be a good day. And following Nathan's benediction, I will be dismissed for the evening. Thank you.
Let us all join in a thought of prayer to say thanks for this past football season. Our season has been filled with much excitement, many highs and a few lows. We hopefully have learned from both the losses and the wins. We have made great memories. We are grateful for the support of parents, coaches, fans, and one another. We appreciate this banquet, which recognizes the 1995 Ames High School football game. This banquet, which has been a celebration of this year's successful team and a recognition of everyone's participation, may now be ended, but our season is not over yet. Win or lose, may we all aim high and give our best, give our very best in the games yet to be played for our school and ourselves. Thank you, and good luck to the juniors next year. I hope your season is as great as ours and mine. Okay, you put your heads up now.